Hi, and thanks for joining us for Rental Kharma On Air. Rental Kharma On Air is brought to you by Rental Kharma, where good renters deserve good credit. Check it out at rentalkharma.com, and that's spelled Kharma.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Rental Kharma On Air, your podcast episode with Wendy Madison Gill. Hello, Wendy.
Hello.
And myself, Cullen Canazares, the co-founder of Rental Kharma, a little company that helps add rent to your credit reports to help make sure you got a better life. But, and remember, it's not just about one step saves and solves all problems. You got to make sure you stay credit ready, get to 720, learn how to stay there. And yes, the good old folks at Rental Kharma help make sure you understand how to do that, because I commonly say getting to 720 is easy. Staying there is 10 times harder. So make sure we don't make the mistakes along the way. Today, the 10th of June already. Wow, it's already here. We are going to talk about some fun stuff. And it's going to be BYOB. Now, in college, Wendy, that was an acronym that did not mean what you mean today. What was it in college?
Bring your own beverages?
No, beer.
I know, it was beer.
The BYOB party.
I liked rum runners, so I didn't like beer.
Yeah.
And so beverages worked for me.
Yeah. Or there would be ones where we would actually go and get a kegerator or a keg at the thing, and we would just charge everybody like $3 walking in, have as much as you want. And that would be the other way to do it.
Yeah.
It was never. I think back to those days, it's like, what the hell? It was fun. Don't get me wrong, we'd do like dumb things to get in trouble, but it was on really bad, cheap beer.
Oh, yeah. Steel Reserve and
Natural Light.
Oh, the natties.
I mean, it just gives you goosebumps thinking about it. It's so bad. So if you're going to BYOB, be your own boss. There we go. America, we have a surge of new businesses being started since the pandemic. We could dive into that for a minute and even think, why did that happen? You know, it's kind of, nobody predicted it. You just didn't, you know, I think people got the feeling, some working from home, that is the time to take a chance. You know, Uncle Sam gives a little bit of extra money, and instead of going to the mall and spending it, or the restaurants because they're closed, people got ambitious and got on the web and started watching different videos and seeing people doing things. I'm sure social media's got a ton to do with it in terms of people showing you things. I go on TikTok and I see guys with power washing businesses, landscaping companies, and all furniture restoration, all kinds of different things. And they show you how to do it because they're not afraid. You know, some ladies restoring furniture in Salem, Oregon could care less if somebody in Indiana watches her video and starts a new thing. It's just inspiring to help somebody else because they're not competing. They're not competitors, right? And it's not like she's going to drive there and pick up a bunch of furniture in Indiana and drive back to Oregon. It just doesn't matter. So there's a lot of great sharing that's going on and giving you different ideas for different things. And I think that's, you know, there's a lot of negatives with some social media, and there's also, I think, a lot of positives. And that to me is one of the ones that rings true because it shows up at my feeds on a regular basis because I don't like watching that stuff. So step number one in starting your business. Well, what are you going to do?
The biggest question of them all.
Yeah, there's two ways of really looking at this. So, it varies, you know, based off of your needs, I think, in the time in your life. For me, Rental Kharma, the mission. I love what it is that I do, the people that we help, the wonderful things people say back to you. It just makes you feel good. And you don't need to be, you realize you don't need to be a millionaire. If you want to and you want to have those no money, no problems, right? You know, go down that path. But if you find something that you really love to do and you can make that a sustainable business and you can do that for as long as humanly possible, that's a really good thing. And I'll tell you, I'm lucky. Okay. Lucky from the perspective of not everybody gets that. A lot of people will be like, I'm going to start a come on, be a general contractor, a construction person. Why? Well, they grew up doing it maybe, and they have the experience doing it, things like that, and they made a good living. And maybe they love working with the hand and they're outside and that, sort of thing. But you realize as soon as you become a general contractor versus a sub, you go from doing the work with your hands to sitting in your truck and managing people and all that other fun stuff that goes with it and payments and all these things, right? They're actually not even the same job, even though the end goal is building a home, right? But it's not. It's just not the same job. So finding your idea is a big one. If it's something you can do and it's a viable business, look around and see, is anybody doing something maybe not the same or similar, and have they had some success at doing it? Maybe it's in a different market, so it doesn't affect you. Is your idea local, regional, state? And then you break out and say into other states, right? Rental Kharma had the crazy benefit of going from 0 to 88 members in our first month, and I think probably 60 of them were in Colorado, where we'd started. By the time we got to month 4, we had hit 1,000 people served. And by the time we got to month 6, we were pushing 2,000, but we had already gone into we had people sign up in all 50 states within
Wow.
6 months.
That's
And there was no TV campaign because we didn't have any money. There was no, we didn't literally advertise anything. It was just word of mouth, which is a very fortunate thing. And now, folks, don't even come close to banking on that. It was a lot of luck, a lot of karma. Okay. If you can find something like that, it's a great, it's a great achievement, but it's just not, it's not feasible for all. Thinking back down to local levels, things like a realtor, right? A realtor is generally a sole proprietor. They're usually not an employee of some firm or something along those lines. They might be affiliated with like Remax, but they're not actually a Remax employee. They're like a 1099er. And they even have to pay to have a desk inside the real estate office, a couple $100 a month, even though they don't get a paycheck. They only get paid when they make commissions on sales, right?
Yeah.
So whatever your area is, one, start finding people. If you come from that field, great. Talk to others in that field. Don't be afraid to even go talk to your boss or the guy, not the boss, but the guy that owns the company or started the company. Might just open some doors for you, and don't be surprised if he at some point realizes, oh, this guy's really that ambitious. I've been thinking, I'm 68 now. I've been thinking about retirement for 10 years and nothing has come along yet. This could be the person that comes and takes over and runs the company. Very likely possibilities. Those things happen. I know. I've seen them, talked with folks about them. If you're going to start from scratch, though, you got to put some sort of plan in place, right? You see a business plan is a common thing. I'll tell you, business plans I saw and did in college didn't seem that great. I think they were taught out of a textbook and not actually out of real life experience. Or at today's, how we have the world today versus 10, 20 years ago or whenever it was written. But once you have a little bit of traction on the idea, when I say traction, it's easy to say, I'm going to get into the lawn care business and go around and get some clients and I'm going to take care of them better than others. And, it's just a way to crack into something. You don't necessarily need a lot of pure feedback in that world to go and do that. It might be nice to know if you have some insight, like there's way more demand in the market here because of all the homes being built around here than there are guys doing the work. It's like if I call up and I go around and do some due diligence and I call a landscaping company and say, yeah, I need to hire a new landscaping company to just move to the area. Do you guys have any availability? If they say they're all booked up, ding, 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 right? and you call the next one. You do a little bit of reconnaissance and figure out what is out there before you take the leap. Because once you do, you feel like you got to be committed for a certain amount of time, but it's not like you're pitching the next Uber or whatever for some big, moonshot tech company. Most people are never even going to get close to going down that path, but at least doing that homework so that you can then come back and say, okay, here's my business plan. This is what I'm going to start with. First off, do you have any money? It's a lot easier to start, but the top reasons for businesses failing, Wendy, what's the number one?
Lack of capital.
That's it. It's been that way for probably ever, right?
No money, more problems.
Yes. Yeah. A little insight is you want a little bit of borrow some of my stress. I probably had less than $100 in the bank the day I first pitched Rental Kharma on stage. Okay. No kidding. It wasn't paycheck to paycheck. It was like day to day, and we didn't get a first paycheck. Literally, I didn't get a first paycheck for 2.5 years. Okay. So that even though I told the story of we were in all 50 states within 6 months, what I left out was when we first approached the first credit bureau and I took the guy to lunch and they said yes, it took over 2 years from that point to get to the point of going and being able to be open. Had to find a guy to write code. Kevin, thank you very much. Our CTO, a little kudos shout out. He came on board and did it for free for a number of years alongside myself until we could get to the point of having customers and paying and getting our first paycheck. And I can tell you there's a very funny picture that we have. I'm going to be shared on social media someday of our first paychecks. I can tell you there's a little bit of profanity with the middle finger being stuck up in front of it at me. Our first paycheck wouldn't even cover rent for 1 month.
Oh my gosh.
So these are the things you have to consider and get in and figure out how you can do it right. You got to ask yourself the questions. And I would even say, if you got a couple of ideas and you're like, you know what, my main goal here is I want to go do something I'm going to be happy doing because I'm working for myself and not for the man or whatever, the government or some boring job that I'm never going to like. But maybe take 2 or 3 ideas and write them down, put them in a spreadsheet. And I've done this a few times. Go down and put like the top 5 things that are most important to you on that list. Quality of life, work-life balance, right? Got 3, 4 kids. I want to be at home with them more. Flexibility. My last employer had me doing, I never knew when I was going to be where or whatever. They were sending me out of town on trips and all those things. What are those benefits? And at the end of the day, what's the pay? And make sure you go and you never look at something with just the top number of how much money you're going to make. Always do the math of how much time it's going to take for that as well. Because time, just like passion, is there any place over on Jefferson Avenue that sells time?
Be a lot cooler if they did it. Because I can use a little bit more right now.
Yeah. Passion, anybody selling it? Nope, don't have it. So get in and compare your opportunities, okay? And then do it by the time formula, how much time put in, what you're going to be making on an hourly basis. Is it possible that one business, you might end up making $50 an hour, but you're only working 20 hours a week? The other one is 35, but you're working 50, and you're making more over here. Well, is there any way that you could take the 20-hour a week, $50 one, and can you get 10 more hours of business in it? Whatever it is. And are you wanting to get this business to another level of growth so you're going to make more money? Like landscaping. We'll just stick with that one. Okay. Think about the challenges of being a sole person in your landscaping business versus having a team of 5. What are the benefits? And most importantly, what are the downsides?
Mhm. I was gonna
Is
say,
it a business that it's hard to get and retain good people? I don't know. I have no idea. You know, is it um high in insurance because you're driving on something that's got sharp blades underneath? I have no idea. But these are the things you need to think about, right?
Mhm.
So that you can split that up and make that decision. And when you think about these varying types, I said put them in a little spreadsheet and compare them. Think also, Winnie has a note here in our word cloud today that says equipment and space, right?
Mhm.
What do you have to make this thing going? How big does the area need to be? Do you have to have cash up front to do it? Can you grow the business from you and one or two people to a certain point to where you could have that facility if needed, and
Mhm.
you could go further with it, right? Um, and then you'll have a really good feeling about what it is you want to do. All due respect to friends and family here too. Wendy, I don't know if you've had any experience of this or seen it. Family members that have W-2 jobs that work at the government, the county, the whatever, they're never a fan of a family member of theirs. Saying they never, that's a terrible thing to say. Most often, I don't see them giving a lot of support to the individual that wants to break out and do their own thing.
Mhm.
I'm not talking money or anything, but not even like patting them on the back.
Yeah.
You know, it's for whatever a part of our culture that doesn't happen. So what do you do? That's why I said, don't go talk to the boss. Go talk to the owner of the company because it's just like you.
Mhm.
He's thinking the same thing. And you're like, man, I've been doing this business for 5 years. And you know what? I really love what business does the guy have? What did he have? He had a farm, right? And
Mhm.
his kids grow up and said they didn't want to be a farmer. But this guy worked out there and he fixed all the tractors, whatever the heck it was, right?
Yeah.
And use them as your motivation, your learning tool. Most everyone that has been in through it is very welcome to sit down and talk and share their experiences. It's sort of a thing of entrepreneurs that you always have a tendency that you're supposed to give back. And a lot of that's give back through knowledge because it is such a hard journey. And it's hard to succeed. So having that there. Once you gotten to a certain point now, you're actually okay. What's next? Well, we need a name. Got to register the business. I don't know anything about that. So most people are going to think, right? They've heard the word LLC, you know, corporation. That sounds scary, right? Um, Sole proprietor. That's another one. Huh? I don't what it doesn't even make sense to a lot of people,
Yeah.
because it's a label, right? So you have to figure that out. Rule of thumb, if you're going to build something small that you don't ever think is going to get above probably 30 or 40 employees, LLC is the way to go pretty much all day long. Okay. It means a limited liability company. And what it structurally does is if you have, let's just say, 10 years down the road, your business successful, you bought a home, it's worth 500 grand, you paid off in full, and you've got a landscaping company and one of your employees accidentally drove over a garden hose that was on and it somehow flooded somebody's house out. Just something that caused a whole bunch of damage, right? Well, when you own your business, you're supposed to have a liability insurance that's going to cover something like that. But if for any reason your insurance isn't going to cover enough of whatever those losses are, shielding your own home, your personal asset away from the business asset is what an LLC does. So somebody can't come and sue you and take away your home that you'd paid off. They can come after and go sue the business. And if they won, if it's a big if, um, they could start to have the business be forced to dissolve or pay out or something along those lines. So That's the reality of it. When you start talking about having a corporation, which is what Rental Kharma is, okay? We did so because we believe that at some point in our journey, we're probably going to have 50 or 100 people on the team. Um, and one of the mindsets we have around Karma is to make sure that our teammates can actually become shareholders of the company. You can do that in an LLC just by, well, it's not really a shareholder, but you can do profit sharing, where you say there's X amount at the end of the year, you give that out or whatever. But in having the equity in the company, it's a little bit different because there's always an outside chance that in certain spaces somebody else could come along and buy your company when you get older. There's always the thing that you have to look at, which is uh, succession plans, which is I've seen that a number of times. I don't know if you've experienced it at all, Wendy, with family or friends or something, where you have a founder of a business that starts to get older, as much as they love being there, and they are there every day. um, they you need to hand things off to the next group of team members that's going to take it for the next 20 years. And sometimes it's a family member. Those are the sticky ones. Sometimes they go great. And then sometimes it's an outside company that comes in and buys it. It could be a private equity firm that comes out and buys it. But like I say, it could be the employee that came up and said, "Hey, I love doing this for private. I notice you got a little bit of a limp there, Bob, and you know, you seem like you're enjoying it, but if you got a plan, what are you going to do with this thing? Just go have lunch and talk with them, and you'd be amazed at what it is that you can uncover." So when you do your filing, you don't need to go hire an attorney. Okay. If you're just going to do a simple LLC, there's docs online. You file them with the Secretary of State, you pay a fee. If you want, there's some companies that'll like do it and file it up there for you. They'll charge a little bit more money. But I know it's not hard. It's literally like just filling out a form and putting the name and then contact stuff on there and the address, and you pay the fee. That's basically it. And then they give you some documents. You take those documents, you got to have those. You have to have a certificate of good standing with the state and your thing called articles of organization. You need to make multiple copies of those because you're going to go take those to the bank. The bank is one of the first things you're going to do with your new business. Don't start your business out of your personal checking account for more than a couple of months. Okay. If you need to pay the first filing fee with the state for that, or a few things, but commingling your personal funds and your business there's no rule that says you can't. Okay. Especially if it's just your own business and you chose to do it, as long as you file your taxes correctly or whatever. But where it really comes into play is when you need something that you have to qualify for. Right?
Yeah.
That's where you see a lot of small businesses struggle because they never put that into place. I'm going to give you an example. I actually did a credit review this morning with a young gentleman down in Texas. I say young, I think he's a couple of years older than me. Okay. And Mr. Williams, I was laughing because Williams is pretty common, and I like to put it to a name. He has no personal debt, a little bit in savings, and he had a 660 credit score, and he was paying Experian $360 a year to monitor his credit. Well, we quickly went through the exercise of saying, you can get the most modern thing in the world for free right here, Credit Karma, with your credit scores of those other two bureaus. But when you're going over here, you're paying $360 for something that's 10-year-old information. Okay. It's a 10. He just didn't understand the system. And I said to him, do you have a LLC set up yet or whatever? Because he told me that his plan is to go from what he does today to being a realtor, even though the real estate market is a little hard right now. I said, well, what are you doing right now to bridge your gap? Right? Uber, Lyft, DoorDash. How many people in our society are doing that?
A lot. A lot of people are gigging.
10,000?
I would say exponentially higher. I don't know why.
Yeah,
but it seems like
exponentially.
I look out the door and I see DoorDashers at the restaurant all day long. And so I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
there goes another one.
Probably 400,000 at least drivers, right? And a lot of them are doing it because they didn't like doing what they were doing before, and it was at least consistent income. But then there's a lot of guys like Mr. Williams that are like, I'm doing this now and I'm saving up money and I want to become a realtor, right? I said, well, how much are you making doing DoorDash and stuff? He said, $2,400 a week. And I said, Mr. Williams, you don't have any debt. That's great, but you haven't set up in the business yet, right? Nope, he hadn't. He goes, but Cullen, I just heard the other day I shouldn't. You just confirmed exactly what I'm supposed to do next. And so I walk him through it here in a second. I'll do that step. But the reality is he didn't. So I helped him do the math equation. I said, how many hours are you working for that $2,400? It's not a small number. He's putting in 65 to 70 hours a week driving around to get to that. Okay. He's single, past the age of kids, had the time to do it. Okay, it worked. And I imagine it has helped him get to the point of saving up. He also wants to buy a home. His plan was to get it, a year from now or whatever, and he wants to become a realtor. And I went through the exercise and showed him that the incredible importance of him setting up for him an LLC. That's all he'll ever need. He does not need a corporation. He's not going to have shareholders or anything like that. But in doing that, what's going to happen is right now, when he goes to apply for a mortgage, you got to go through manual underwriting, which means you got to show all your tax returns. You got to prove and connect the dots. He's been paying himself personally. All his checks have been coming into his personal account. So like he's been paying way more in taxes than this guy should be, because every penny he makes comes in from Uber, right?
Yeah.
And the company DoorDash knows. So he's paying for his gas out of that. And it's not, the point is he ends up paying the gas for an Uber driver should be a business expense, just like the insurance, the mileage on the car, right? All those things. So he didn't have that opportunity in front of him. He set up. So I walked him through. You go to the Secretary of State, you file $100. You go take, like I said, those documents. You go down to the bank. You set up a business banking account. You don't let you start it with $500, even like $300. There's no like minimum you have to put in $10,000 because a lot of people don't. Start it with what you can, and then make sure that every deposit you get, every payment from Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, real estate commission check is coming into the account for Williams Realty. Okay. All of it's there. You'll end up using maybe like a QuickBooks so you can see where your, expenses and income is and all that. But then you're going to take that and you're going to go over to like a company like Gusto or an online payroll provider, and you're going to use them to make sure it's going to help increase that line of separation and provide you the documentation. Okay. They're not expensive. I'm talking less than $50 a month, probably less than 30. And what you're doing is all income comes into the business. Mr. William, you're an expense. Your labor, your payroll is an expense, right? So let's say you're going to give yourself $5,000 a year, month or whatever. Okay. Set yourself up that either twice a month or once a month, you have it set up so that you get direct deposit, run the payroll runs, and now all of a sudden you got a pay stub. When you go to the mortgage officer with a pay stub, a couple months of history, and it shows improves that, and you get your credit report with your shiny 720 credit score sitting there, it is a really simple process to get you approved for a mortgage. Especially if you have a rent included on it, because you may includes that when you go through underwriting, right? If you go to get a car loan, which make sure to tune into Rental Kharma On Air podcast episode, How to Buy a Car with No Down Payment. You never, ever get a car loan at the car dealer. Is there a sign out in front of the Honda place that says bank car loans? No. they're a shady middleman broker that only gives you something that's not in your best interest. That's going to make them more money on the other side. No, you're going to go to your community credit union. You're going to get your car loan with your check stubs. You go down there. Oh, Miss Reeves, who you work for? Well, this is my company here, but I get, regular pay stubs and everything else. And, just like everybody else. And this is what I make. And here's my credit score. Can I get my car loan? By, of course, thank you for being easily documented, because you don't have to go through manual underwriting. And it's just an easy conversion, right? They're not going to get stuck with any predatory lender or any kind. And it just makes life easier. And there's a lot of people in that exact same situation that are Uber, DoorDash, want to be realtor, mortgage, figure out whatever those things are. But that exact same process follows for every single one of them, which is easy.
Because I mean, honestly, the hardest thing about the whole thing is going to be like getting the gumption to take that first step. Because that's, a lot of people have that issue with change. Like, well, like you were saying, the people who are like, they work for the city or have like a really, really stable job. And then, then like the cousin's like, oh, I'm going to go start my own business. And everyone's like, oh, that's a bad idea. And it's because like those people are so like, they're stable, and that's really, really cool that they're happy with that stability. But if you're wanting something different, if you're wanting something new, and you want to take, like, if you can take that risk, and you believe in yourself enough to go out there and do it, then heck, that's the hardest part of half of it, is actually just getting out there and doing it. Because journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and that does not exempt from this situation either. It really isn't.
Yeah. And in that, and when you take that back into your plan, a business plan is there sort of is there to put some guide rails on where write your goals down, where you want to get to, how you're going to get there, where you're going to get your customers from, because, go back to lawn care.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to mow residential homes? I think there's companies that go around and do it commercially at all kinds of big office spaces and all kinds of. I wonder how much somebody gets for mowing, the yard at or just take some big manufacturing plant, and they got a big 15-acre plot out there.
Mm-hmm.
You probably pay somebody $500 a month to mow that thing.
Oh, I worked at a big corporate office here in Cookeville, and whenever I worked in a call center, and so you could see like the three landscaping trucks that would pull up, and they would have entire crews, and they were out there like every single week. And it's like, that's 3 crews of people every single week, at least $75 per truck. So it's like, hot dog, they're gotta be making pretty good money, but they also have a big crew and things like that. So yes, they can, completely landscape an entire property in like 45 minutes. That's like 5 acres, but it's back to the next one even faster.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding.
Well, and don't forget, like, advertising is basically free, especially to start off with. Facebook, you can go online to like different like GoDaddy and Squarespace and Wix and all those different website builders. They have like free versions of websites, freemiums. I mean, there's so many different ways for you to put your name out there. And I mean, heck, I know it's a little retro, but don't forget about going down and putting the good old flyer on the poster at the gas station. Just put your name out there. It's,
people still do that because it still works.
It does.
But, it's very common. I mean, you see that. What I love, especially the guys in the social media, is I love that they're doing 2 things. They're leveraging social media for their business. Like the guys that do the lawn, they come in and they clean up somebody's lawn that hadn't been touched in 2 months.
Oh, yeah.
That guy, right? And they leverage that to get followers, which are all over the place. So he's not cutting grass in their area or anything, but it even maybe creates some sort of a local buzz of the people in the community that do see it and go, oh, you got to get Johnny, man. He's the guy that goes and helps all the little old ladies, right? Whatever it is. But then if you think about that guy, or the one that does the power washing of the garbage cans, I still think it's brilliant. I think it's crazy to say. I think it's a brilliant business for somebody needs to have their own path in life. Maybe they came out of prison and they can't get a job because of the stupid checkbox issue. But that one is brilliant. And how hard is it to go and offer that up for free to everybody in the neighborhood one afternoon?
Mm-hmm.
And the flyer in the door says, you know, I don't know if you really should do this, but do you go wash somebody's garbage can where they not even ask them, maybe? You use a little sticker on top. This one's on me. If you want another one, call.
I mean,
right?
if the cops can search it, I can wash it.
See, I didn't even think about that. But I mean, that's a great task to have literally low to no cost marketing. You know, marketing is really not for new companies. We've seen some come into our space, right? They go out and they raise a bunch of money. And I tell you what, these companies are really good at spending $3 to make $1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Spend $3, make $1 means you just lost $2.
Yeah.
That is not a sustainable it's crazy. Okay. They do it because they're in this Silicon Valley bubble of things. It's, just how they do things. But for all of us and the members of Rental Kharma that we talk to on a daily basis, these are the simple, easy paths to go do something that you want to do to be sustainable. So you don't have to worry about money, or you get to control some of your time. Make sure time is on your list when you do that comparison. Make sure, I'll tell you Wendy, do you remember the story of the first company I started?
The internet service provider.
Yep. And we sold dial-up internet. One would think, wow, that's pretty neat, Cullen. How did you do that? I had some telecom knowledge and experience, and I was at an age where fear wasn't kicking in. And one of the things that I noticed is some of the competitors, because I did my homework, I reached out to somebody that owned a company. And I don't know if you knew this part of the story, but this is a great exercise of how to get there. Okay. I was working at AT&T in Denver in a big old high rise, wearing coat and tie and selling high speed, big connections to the internet, not 56K, but like to data centers like Google. That's what we were selling. Okay. These things were thousands and tens of thousands of dollars a month. And I knew that I did not like that company. Pretty much it reared its ugly face within weeks of being there. And I was scared because I knew I didn't want to do it. And I was about to get married at that point in time. And my son's mom says to me, if you stay at AT&T, I ain't going to marry you. That's a big thing for somebody to say, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you're becoming such a miserable human. I don't want to live with you. And I said, cool. Here's the deal. I'll quit just so as long as you don't go be an attorney. I don't like attorneys. And I don't want to live with one. So we cut that deal and we made it through for many, many years. But what I did is I started doing my homework about ISPs because I was calling on ISPs as my job to find out if they needed a big connection to the internet because they need those, right? And I found one in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. I called up, and every time I call, I got the guy. His name was Ryan. And I'm like, you're sales, you're the support guy, and you're the owner of the company. He goes, yeah, it's just me right now. I go, how many customers you got? He's like 15,000.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I'm like, dang, man. And he goes, yeah. He goes, my model is they focus on simplicity and a low cost provider, no frills, no live, call in support or whatever. Because there's different business models. You can be more support, you can be more towards business helping them, et cetera, whatever. I said, if I give you $5,000, can I hire you to show me every step of the way what I need? Because this is kind of a new space. Granted, not everybody's going to have $5,000 to go to this level, right? And he did. And he showed me, you need to go here for that. You need to go here for that. And a lot of it, I knew the language. I just didn't know where I was looking. And this is before Google was as powerful as Google is today in terms of finding what you need on the internet. And so it was an amazing help. And literally within a month of quitting, we went live, website, everything was plugged in, so forth. I put up another 5K on my credit card, which I was broke now. I didn't have any money, so I had a credit card. They had a $5,000 limit, but I signed a $60,000 contract to advertise for an entire year, 5K a month on this one site that he told me, you go here, you're going to get customers
Mm-hmm.
in a good time. Lo and behold, day one, 11 customers sign up, 15. By the time a month had gone around, over 350, paying $17.95 a month. By the time I got to the middle of month two,
Mm-hmm.
that entire $5,000 advertising expense, my credit card balance was paid off.
Hey.
So now I was a cash flow positive. We made it there in a pretty short period of time. One of the things that I thought I was super smart on, and I still agree that it was a good idea, but we ended up deciding that we were going to offer 24/7 tech support.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't source this to India. I didn't source it to Indiana or any in the place in the middle.
Ooh, this shit is Cullen. What's up? What's going? How's it going? You're down.
That did happen. And I was here on the phone, and it was we started in a 1-bedroom apartment, and we had a desk in there, and I would leave it up to the ringer, and it didn't happen at all. It didn't happen because we only had 500 you. Well, we had 1,000 after a few months, but the amount of people that are up at 3:00 in the morning calling you for tech support,
Mm-hmm.
it ain't that many. So you get one call a week.
Yeah.
And I would crawl out of bed, and then I never even asked my son's mom to do it. I was just like, I pushed for this, and because we gave us just like at Rental Kharma, this is where I learned this mindset from, is you always give that extra little bit, because it's like marketing in real time, the value of your business for people to tell their friends and to tell others, so that you're not trying to spend money to convince people to show up when they don't know anything about you.
Yeah.
Word of mouth marketing is the way to go. That is entirely the what really pushed this company to where it is. And whatever you do on your little list, actually, this is another thing I think, add to your comparison list. How easy is it to get referral business in that business?
Yeah.
A restaurant. Who's going to do the referring? The diners.
Mm-hmm.
And that one's such a double-edged sword, because you could serve 10 great meals in a row, and you have one that's sort of mediocre. Which one does everybody talk about?
It's gonna be that bad one.
Yeah, exactly. So what spaces is there like little friction where it's like, I think the landscaping one's actually probably kind of easy for referrals. Somebody new moves in, neighbors or whatever, and says, oh, I'm on your yard, and who do you use? Well, we've been using so-and-so for a long time, and we're really happy with him, right? That's all it takes. And then that one's done. Mechanics.
Oh God, that's a big
How
word
is
of mouth
that
one. That's a big word of mouth one.
Yeah. And I think it's actually a great profession, as long as you build the business right. And then whenever something does go sideways, which it's gonna, how do you overcome those or provide something? I think a lot of mechanic shops screw up on that one, Liddy. Where, oh, you need a new whatever, right? They go get it, they pay for the part, they put it in, but the problem's still there. What's a good thing to do in that situation?
Keep throwing parts at it. As the rednecks around here.
And when you were at the dealership, what was it there that I'm trying to think of what part on my car like, I just fixed my AC the other day. My son was giving me shit about this because I waited 4 months, and I tried fixing it twice before with me installing the new sensors. And one time it worked for a while, and then it quit working again. I'm like, dang it, I don't know what's wrong with this thing. But I watched this video on the YouTube, and the one told me about the sensor. He's like, before you go to the dealership, make sure you try these simple and affordable things. because the dealership is most likely just going to tell you the whole thing needs replaced. Here's your new $2,500 air conditioner.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's what kept me from going. I'd even set an appointment 2 weeks ago to take it in,
Mm-hmm.
and I missed the appointment. And I was like, well, that's not that big a deal. At least I'm not out the $150 diagnostic fee.
Yeah.
And then I watched one more video on the YouTube, and the guy says, did you change your relay? Like the fuse, but a big fuse. And I'm like, oh, so I go, went in, pulled right into the old rallies, popped the hood, went in, $21. Guess what? I'm a week into my perfectly good air conditioner right now at $21. I didn't waste the $150. But most importantly, I didn't get oversold the $2,500, right? Wendy, thanks, folks, for joining us today. It has been a pure joy. I'm going to put Wendy on the spot at the end of the show today. Okay? She's in a little bit of a hurry. She's got to get out and go save her beloved niece who made a tiny little mistake with a card. So Wendy's not going to go be mad mama.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to take care of things. But 3 things that you didn't know that you took away from today's show that you're like, that can really add some value to our audience, myself, or somebody else I might tell.
Definitely the one thing that I think that I learned today was that it's not actually that hard. Like, and it's like, there's not so many steps to filing a business. Like when I think of starting a business, my brain goes to like a crazy loop of all these things that I've got to get done in a certain amount of time and things like that. No, it's not going to be, you don't have to hire an attorney. That's something that you don't have to do. You can either do it yourself or you can use websites or things online.
Yep.
Let's see. What else did I learn today? I think honestly, I learned that you start all of your businesses in either a broom closet or a 1-bedroom apartment. And
One was an old auto garage that was 30 years old.
so if I get a new toaster oven, you're going to start your new business. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I can tell you I love that building in Cookeville for more than one reason, because I think it could be a cool ass like restaurant, cafe, brewery. It's got the guts to it.
Yeah.
You know? It's got the, what they say, it's got the yeah.
It's got the stuff. Everybody comes in here and goes, the first thing that happens. Yeah.
I love it. And that's the other fun stuff. So cool. Well, I'm glad you got something out of it. I know I did, and I hope some of our audience does too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so thank you guys so much again for joining us today. So, we really look forward to you guys joining us each week as we tackle new topics and everything. Please don't forget to send us any emails or voice notes. Send them to Cullen at rentalkharma.com. The email address will be down below.
And when you send that in, if we listen to it on the air, we are going to donate on your behalf 1 free Rental Kharma rep reporting with credit expert coaching along with it through our nonprofit, The Works.
Absolutely.
You get to help another family just by getting out there and doing that.
Yep. You get to help us change some lives.
Cool. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a good rest of your day and a healthy week ahead.